Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a Hex Rager build guide in Baldur's Gate 3. This is a combination of the Hexblade Warlock alongside the Berserker Barbarian. They're actually a very synergetic combination because I'll be showing you a version if you're in Honor mode or if you're in Tactician and below. Now we're starting off with the Warlock here just because it is quite powerful. Because we get two of the best cantrips in the game with Eldritch Blast and Booming Blade, so you can choose between either melee or range casting, you're going to be good at it. The Hexblade also lets you go all in on your charisma at the early game, which gives you the Hex weapon there, the Hexblade's Curse, which gives you a bonus to the damage rolls equal to your proficiency bonus. That'll scale upwards to 4, and you get an increased critical hit chance by 5%. And then we also get medium armor proficiency and shield proficiencies alongside all martial weapons. I think the best choices for early game spells is taking shield just to get that increase in armor class, and Hex. And once you get the second beam on your Eldritch Blast, this is really good because you can Hex an enemy with your bonus action and then hit them with Eldritch Blast. And the nice thing about the Hexblade is we can actually go all in on our charisma. Now, if you're going to go save Auntie Ethel and get the Hag's Hair, put it at 17 and then you can boost it up to 18 using that. Otherwise, you can go with the 16 and 16 in dexterity, as we do need a high armor class. I would actually recommend going higher in dex because we can use a shield and we can use things like Valor Alluve to be a good melee attacker, but also debuff for our team. And then if you really want to, you could use a strength potion because we can also do throwing attacks as well. But I think this stat spread works well. And I'll also mention that the armor mod I am using is the Luna and Umbra here by Eridea on Nexus mods, as well as the Leathers of the Vagabond by Volno. The armor mod is on mod.io as well. But into our second level here, we get to take another spell, and I'd recommend either Hellish Rebuke or the Armor of Agathis. Now, the reason that I'd recommend this is because you can actually cast this while you're raging, which is kind of funny. There's a lot of ways that the Warlock actually works around the problems that the Barbarian has where they can't cast spells, because a lot of them you can either use before you get into a fight or somehow still use. We also get to take Eldritch Invocations at level 2, and Devil's Sight is my favorite choice here because this allows us to see a magical darkness. We don't even need to spellcast to set this up because there's darkness arrows. This gives us a lot of advantages over the enemies. And I'd actually recommend taking Repelling Blast, but if you don't like darkness, take Agonizing Blast to add your Charisma modifier to Eldritch Blast. Now, I did mention the Honor mode build. I like to take 2 levels of the Warlock and go 10 levels into the Barbarian. However, you could also do a 10 levels of the Warlock and then take 2 levels of the Barbarian for the extra increases to our armor class. But for Tactician below, we can actually stack the extra attacks and get 3 attacks per action. So that's what we're going to do because it's obviously quite powerful. Now, at our third level here, another spell that we can actually use while we're raging is Shadowblade, oddly enough. So I really like to take this because some of the other ones that we got, like Darkness, is a concentration. We lose that. Same with Hold Person. The others that I like to take typically, Misty Step is nice, but we can't do it while we're raging. And Mirror Image, we can actually buff ourselves up with. So my personal preference is to take Shadowblade. It's just the strongest weapon in the game. If you don't like it, take Mirror Image, or you could, I guess, take Invisibility if you wanted to have a little outside of combat utility as well. We're going to be grabbing the Pact of the Blade. This is the only way we get the extra attack on to stack with our Hex weapon. You have to take both of them. It fuses it into the same skill, and don't forget to activate your Hex weapon every time that you finish a long rest. After this, we're going to take another cantrip choice with Mage Hand. We already got Eldritch Blast and Moving Blade, which are great. Mage Hand, we can throw healing potions to ourselves, heal ourselves, or water bottles to set up for double damage on our casters. And at this point, I'd recommend grabbing Mirror Image. This lasts for 10 turns, so you can actually do this before you rage. Really useful. And then for our first feat, Alert is always nice to get to the +5 to initiative to go first, pretty much almost guaranteed. I also like to take an ability score improvement and go up with our charisma. If you have the Hag's Hair, you could get it up to 20 right now, which is great for making sure that you can land your attacks. And you can also go with the Savage Attacker because this will just increase the amount of damage that we'll be dealing with melee. And I also want to mention, since we're going to be adding in the Berserker Barbarian, Tavern Brawler kind of fits here as well, but I'm going to go with the Alert feat. It's just really good to have that +5 to initiative. Since we're like a damage dealer, finishing off enemies quickly so that our team doesn't take damage is very good. Level 5, we get our extra attack from our Pact weapon, which is pretty huge. We can then now take a level 3 spell. I like Counterspell, which is just great to be able to stop enemies. Hunger of Heart is great, but we can't use it, so it's something that we unfortunately don't want to take. But Counterspell, sometimes we don't get to roll first for initiative, or we're not in a rage. Counterspell is just something you want to have rather than not have it. And at this point, we'll take the Agonizing Blast, add our Charisma modifier to our Eldritch Blast there. I think that's just the best choice. And our final level in the Warlock here is going to give us the Accursed Specter. Now, if you have the Illithid ability Call the Weak, it can sometimes interact and make this not trigger, so there's just a heads up on that. You have to take out the enemy using yourself or your weapon damage and not any extra damage rider, things like that. At this point, there's nothing really else that we need. You could take Remove Curse for, I guess, some outie combat utility, or Hunger of Hadar. Misty Step is my choice. Even Wrathful Smite can work, but we can't use a lot of these when we're raging, so that's just something to keep in mind. We also can't use Booming Blade when we're raging, but that's all right. Now we got our 6th level of the Warlock, so we're going to add in the Barbarian now. This is great because we get our Rage, but we also get we can wear clothing and add our Constitution modifier, which will be +6 to our armor class, while using a shield. This is actually how we can get our armor class up extremely high. Even though we have medium armor proficiency, we can choose to not use it if we don't want to, but there's many great options here. Danger Sense is nice. You get advantage on dexterity saving throws against trap spells and surfaces. So again, just further increasing our survivability. Level 3, we get our subclass. Now, I'd recommend the Berserker. So the Hex Rager. This gives us our Frenzy, so our Rage now gives us our Frenzied Strike. So we get a bonus action attack. This is great because we now have attack, 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 bonus action attack, or bonus action throw. And the Frenzied Throw is nice because it can knock targets prone. Really useful. Next level, we get ourselves another feat. You could go with the Dual Wielder feat if you really wanted to go kind of hard with a 2-weapon fighting style. I'm going to add in Tavern Brawler at this point. You don't have to. If you don't want to, I would recommend going with ability score improvement on your dexterity if you're going around the dex, or on your strength if you didn't go around dexterity. Because with this, we're able to get, or increase, I guess, to your charisma, because we're able to get better attack rolls. But I think the Tavern Brawler works well because the Throw Zerker is really strong. But again, you don't have to use this if you don't want to. There's 2 kind of options from here you can go with. Now, this is where we get our extra attack to stack. It's only the Hexblade it's only the Warlock that'll stack this extra attacks. We now have 3 attacks the same level that a fighter would have it, but with much greater utility. And we get increased movement speed when we're not wearing heavy armor. And then for our final level here, we get ourselves the Mindless Rage. So can't be charmed or frightened, and calm emotions will no longer hinder rage. So we can actually get pulled out of rage. If you're in honor mode, this is something that happens sometimes where the enemies will stop your rage. Not that it's always the best thing for them to do, but it's just annoying that they'll do it. I covered what equipment mods I was using for that part of the video, but one really fun synergy from taking Tavern Brawler is we can then use the Vest of Soul Rejuvenation here, which will give us the Greater Kashigo counter, which we can then use a reaction to make an unarmed strike, which is boosted because we have Tavern Brawler. You want to use a strength potion if you're going to go this route, and yeah, even without a shield, we got 26 armor class. And we can get to our armor class at 28 here if we use a specific setup. But moving some things around, if we want to use Shadow Blade, the Brain Drain Gloves are best because they'll give 2 turns of mental fatigue, which gives a -2 to the enemy's mental saves, so intelligence, charisma, and wisdom saving throws, which is huge. Otherwise, you could also use the Wondrous Gloves for an additional point of armor class if you wanted that. I also like the Gloves of the Belligerent Skies here, giving you reverberation on enemies when you deal thunder, lightning, or radiant damage. You can buff your weapon with like the Drake Throat Glaive for that. And then I also have the Boots of Stormy Clamor here because this will give a condition which triggers this to apply reverberation. I also got the Horns, the Berserker here, which gives bonuses to our attack rolls. And whenever we attack, we get additional necrotic damage as long as we don't have our full health. And what's funny is it'll actually apply to our Greater Kashigo counter here. Cloak protection is great, but really whatever cloak you got. I'm also using Shadow Cloak Green because we are a little stealthy and use darkness and shadows, which will then boost up our damage by a 1d4. And then also boost it up even further by 2 with the Caustic Band here, adding additional acid damage. Now I have the Amulet of Greater Health because that gives us a +6 to our armor class, since we're not wearing armor. And I took off all the armor class boosting abilities here. Now, I have the Knife of Thunderbound King. That's a good Act 1 weapon to roll with. Actually, a lot of these items you can get in Act 1. And I would recommend using medium armor in Act 1. The Adamantine Scale Mail, whenever you got the Hexblade, is a really good choice. So you could go with this here for a medium armor until you get the Amulet of Greater Health, and then go into a clothing option like this, which is in Act 3. And again, Act 1 weapon, Knife of Thunderbound King or Fowler Aloof. I really like the Sword of Chaos in the later game, which can give you heal on hits. And then you can even use the Periop Wound Closure to heal yourself for 6 every time you do a melee attack, which becomes 18 with our 3 attacks. It's crazy. Nirelna is also a consideration because this can give you additional movement speed and you can throw it. But I actually like to have it in reserves. And my personal preference is actually to take the Marika Heshker here because it has the Arcane Battery, which can give us the free version of Shadow Blade, so we don't even have to expend one of our spell slots on it. And this will give us the 3d8 psychic damage. I'm using the strength potion, so +8, +2 acid damage, +1d4 psychic. So yeah, that's doubled if you had the Resonance Stone, making this extremely powerful. And then to tie it all together, we're going to go first because we have the Hell Rider Longbow for the +3 to initiative. But if you have a strength potion active, you actually don't really even need that extra boost armor class or to initiative. You can take the Titan String Bow to add that strength modifier to our bow attacks, which is pretty fun, especially if you have the arrow many targets on your character, because that's acid and additional damage off that. Now, the Hexblade does have a little bit of a pre-combat checklist. You always got to make sure that you have your Bind Hex weapon applied. because that's the way you get that extra attack. Otherwise, you don't. We can then also summon in our Mage Hand, as this is available per short rest, and it's acts for 10 turns. So does our Mirror Image spell here that we want to cast too, because this will then give us a boost to our armor class. We now up to 36 armor class with the Mirror Image and Haste. So now we're tanky. Even though when we're in our rage, we're going to be taking half physical damage, we're still very, very tanky. And we rolled the top initiative here, to no one's surprise, because we have so many initiative boosting abilities. Always going first is important, because this lets us take out key targets. Like if I wanted to get Shadowheart to go, we could try and take out all, there's a lot of targets to take out, but yeah, you get the idea. What we're going to want to do is, before we even go into our rage, we can actually slap around a Booming Blade right quick, and we have advantage because Shadowblade gets advantage on lightly obscured areas, and then we also get that additional damage off on that. Not sure how we got a critical miss using a critical hit there, but I guess I'll go with another attack here, and then another attack to finish them off. That was unfortunate, but yeah, we can also then go into our rage at any point here. As a bonus action, we'll use the rage now, and this gives us extra damage. We can't use our Booming Blade. I probably should have used that before going into the rage there, but I just wanted to get into this rage. Unfortunately, we're in a really weird position, so I'm going to use an arrow attack because I need to get rid of this target here. Arrow many targets is great because it's going to hit around multiple targets like that. It took out 3 targets, so that was actually worth doing. We applied mental fatigue on that target. Arrow of Humanoid Slaying are something you should always have for the mages around, because yeah, you just need to get rid of those pretty quickly. So yeah, we're also a tank, so we got ourselves in a prime position to try and keep our team safe. We can probably go up in front line a little bit more, but we have a very high armor class, so they're not likely to attack us. But what we can do is position ourselves closer to the enemy and our team away from them. Our one weakness is Command Grovel, because we have the Resonant Stone. So yeah, we do get hit with that from time to time, but we can also inflict mental fatigue there. Shadowheart succeeded though. So I was dumb and forgot to move Shadowheart, and as you guessed it, they attacked her because she's got a way lower armor class than myself. So I gotta get rid of the targets here, so I'm just gonna save her. This is great because we're applying the mental fatigue there, so if you don't take out an enemy, they're going to be much more likely for your other teammates to be able to hit a command or hold person off on them. That was pretty good there. We still have our bonus actions to do things like throws, so if you get tired of using the Shadowblade at any point, the best thing about Nirolna is you can then grab a throw and throw your Nirolna there. It's going to have that big area of effect damage, so it's sometimes a situational weapon, and then we now have Nirolna as our weapon. The unfortunate thing is it's not going to be your packed weapon, but if you wanted to swap to throwing, if you needed it for a specific setup, because we do have a bonus action throw, that is an idea. It also has like the Zephyr Flash and the Zephyr Break here, which are weapon skills, so you can actually use them. They're kind of funny because it's like a spell while you're raging, so if you wanted to, you can go ahead and blast away with something like that. But yeah, that's a Hex Rager Barbarian Warlock. Very powerful, as you can see. Anything that can get the 3 attacks is going to be strong, but getting the spell casting utility, it's funny because there's so many spells that the Warlock can take advantage of before it even has to rage. That's the beauty of this. So yeah, we're taking advantage of some really good combinations, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below. I did cover the appearance mods at the start of the video, so you can check that out if you're curious. Hope you have a great day. We'll catch you in the next one.